This collard green and egg casserole is going to be delicious. In light of the success of my Australian sweet potato and zucchini bake, I said, you know what? I'm going to experiment a bit more with these egg bakes. I did a zucchini bake. That will probably be up before this one. And that was really good. But I said, you know what? What about a leafy green? What about collard greens? I'm a southern chef. Collard greens are southern. And when you think of collard greens in the South, you think of a big pot boiling on the stove forever with some sort of smoked meat. So I said, why don't I show my followers that even though that is good, you can enjoy collard greens in different ways as well. I started off by sauteing some collard greens, a pound of collard greens, along with one small medium purple onion, about 300 grams. What I did is I chopped up the collard green leaves. I'll show you what I did. I took some leaves here and I folded them like this, and then I just cut them like that. And then once they were cut horizontally, I turned the cutting board to cut them vertically, just to ensure that I cut them into small pieces. I honestly think if you wanted to remove the stem and chop those up on their own, like what I do when I make my collard greens the southern way, you could. I did not. I feel like that's a lot of quilombo, a lot of mess, as the Argentines would say. I think the key is just to make sure that the stems are cut into small pieces because you want them to cook through because they're so hard. So like I said, I just sauteed them in a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of canola oil for 15 minutes. I didn't get all the collard greens in at once because there were so many. After 5 minutes, I added the last bit. You can microwave them as well. And then in the last 2 minutes, I added a small tomato. A lot of people like to eat collard greens with tomato and onion, so I wanted to add those. I was going to add some garlic. I was going to chop it up and add it in the last minute or two, but I forgot, so now there's no garlic. But that's okay. I'm going to combine that with half a cup, 120 grams of light sour cream, 4 ounces of Colby Jack, but I think you could use pretty much anything. I think Monterey Jack would be really good because it has some tang, and a lot of people like to put some sort of vinegar on their collard greens. 4 large eggs and 1 large egg white, half a teaspoon each of black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of flour. I don't think this is necessary, but I think it's going to absorb some of the liquid. These greens, they really don't have that much liquid, as you can see, but I think that a little bit of flour is just going to help it cook a little bit faster and get brown on the top. I just mixed everything with the collard greens except for the eggs. I tasted it and I like the way that it tastes. So now I'm going to take the eggs, beat them really quickly, and then mix everything together. If you have some smoked ham, I think you could add that to this. I think it would be a good way to play on the concept of Southern style collard greens. But if you do not want to add any ham, then this would definitely be a good vegetarian meal for Meatless Monday or something like that. So I'm just going to mix everything together and I'm going to put it into the casserole dish. I mixed in the eggs and then I decided to add another egg. So 5 whole large eggs, some of them were kind of small to be honest, and 1 large egg white. If you want to just use 4 large eggs and 1 egg white, I would definitely go with a small bunch of collard greens, somewhere between a half and 3/4 of a pound. Now all I'm going to do is put this into my casserole dish, spread it out. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to bake this for, I'm guessing 30 minutes, but I will let you know. I just pulled my collard green, egg, and cheese bake out of the oven. It was in at 350 uncovered for half an hour, and then I turned it up to 375 for 15 minutes. This collard greens and eggs baked both looked and smelled delicious, so I couldn't wait to dive in. Although it was a bit darker around the edges than I would have liked, I was still happy with the result. And once I tasted it, I was even happier. Honestly, this collard greens and eggs bake was fantastic. Unlike collard greens that are boiled for hours and get very soft, if not borderline mushy, these were soft, but yet they still had some texture to them. So I think that I sauteed them just enough to soften them up before baking. The bit of tang from both the tomato and the sour cream, as well as the cheese, was exceptional in this. I thought that it would work since, like I said, a lot of people like to put hot sauce that's vinegar based or tomato or maybe relish, something like that, on their collard greens when they eat them southern style. But honestly, in this casserole, I was really surprised by just how nicely the tanginess accentuated the collard greens. The onion added both flavor and color as well. So like I said, this was definitely a success. Like I said earlier, a lot of people, especially if they are southern cooks, when they think of collard greens, they think of boiling them on the stove forever. But you can eat them in other ways as well. A lot of times, I just microwave them in the microwave on high for about 5 minutes. Collard greens are full of nutrients, especially calcium, so there's something that are good to include into your diet on a regular basis. So, if you're looking for a new, healthier way to eat collard greens, be sure to give this casserole recipe a try. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.